Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Wellness for All podcast. My name is Lale Hancock, and I have the great pleasure of being your host every single week, bringing in conversations, tools, resources to bringing more wellness and well-being in all aspects of our lives, whether it's relationships, it's finances, business, our bodies and mental health, whether it's having more communion with our magical earth or bringing more awareness and consciousness in everything that we're choosing. So thank you so much for being here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Wellness for All podcast. My name is Lale Hancock, and today we have I don't even know what to say. I'm so excited about today. Our topic is the earth is with us. And just as I say that, the birds outside at Elgar just started singing. It's just like how it is just like so perfect how nature just does that for me. And I'm here with one of my dear friends from Napa Valley, Heather Smith. Hey, how you doing, darling?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here, Lale. It's great to be with you.
Oh my goodness. So Heather and I don't even know. We've known each other probably 8 to 10 years, maybe 11. Who knows how long we've known each other?
Something like that. Like a decade.
Yeah. And one thing that I've always loved about Heather was she was always looking at a different angle of how she can contribute to the earth and from things that most of us don't even think about. And a lot of the books, I mean, you've got some books you've written that are just amazing bestsellers out there. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this company that you also work with your family,
Yes.
that is so much looking at being able to create with the earth in a different way. So, Heather, will you just give everyone just maybe a couple of minutes about you, your background, and then we can dive deeper into this amazing product that you guys have with your family?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Gosh, well, I grew up like way out in the country, kind of hippie parents, really with a whole community of people and like with the idea of living off the earth, like close to the land, having a low impact on the land. And, this was back in the 70s. I was born in 72. So um, my parents were part of the so-called back to the land movement. Easy for me to say. um, so I always grew up with a respect and even reverence for nature and an appreciation for the beauty of it and the bounty of it, and having a small or low impact on the earth. So that's just the kind of the environment that I grew up in, with that as a value, and that is the way that we lived. So we also grew a lot of our own food, had alternative power off the grid, didn't have TV until I was 9 or 10.
What?
Yeah, I know. Like kind of extremely close to the earth without the distractions of modern day stuff, even though I'm living in the United States. So, but
That's
it really, I loved it. I loved the lifestyle. I loved growing up that way. I loved nature and experiencing all the elements more, and to just be surrounded by it and surrounded by like the peace and quiet of it. There's such a spaciousness and quiet, and it's so nurturing to be surrounded by that. So that's what I grew up with. And I went out in the world and it's so different. It's so loud. It's so distracted. There's so much that we do in our everyday life that just doesn't even pay attention to the earth at all. So it always surprises me that people don't consider the earth. And so I guess it's kind of always been my bent. I look for things where we can still have our modern day life, but include the earth with it. Like, why does there have to be a separation? To me, it doesn't make sense that there is a separation, or that there even could be a separation. It's like our very bodies and lives depend on the health of the earth, and we come from the earth. So it just, a lot of stuff that hasn't made sense to me that people consider normal with that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. But with that question, I've always looked for things that, like, I had the question, what would it be like to have products and services and things that would be in harmony with the earth and connect with the earth, even if the person didn't think about that or care about that. And so that's kind of been an ongoing question that I've had for a lot of years. And in has drawn me to explore all different kinds of things and just be open to ideas and people from all over the world that also have an interest in things that support the earth and aren't against it, like aren't destructive to the earth with it. It's like, why can't we have something that is in harmony with the earth, contributory to the earth, and still give us the things that we would like to have? You know, I don't
And
I don't see this as mutually exclusive.
yeah, but I also get that you grew up where there was never this separation of any of this, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you and I were talking actually on a totally different conversation. We were talking about many things together.
Yes.
And that's kind of how this podcast got created, was just how much we both love the earth, and how we look at what each of us, like each step we take to do it not on top of the earth but with the earth.
Yeah.
And I know some of the people watching or listening, like, they know the last, gosh, now 22 days I've been on this property called El Lugar in Costa Rica,
Mm.
and I don't even know who I am anymore, because when you are surrounded by nature and everything, like, one of the things that I love about this property, it was built in communion with the earth. So the people that don't know about El Lugar was a book that a gentleman, Gary Douglas, wrote many years ago called The Place. And at first it was fiction, but I wonder, knowing him, nothing's ever fiction. Um, and it really was that he was looking for a place that could be harmony for us in conferences, events, nurture the body, but also educate. How can we educate to create a business, create an environment of tourism or whatever else it is, but with the earth, not, they're separate. And then becoming an education environment to show others around the world what's possible with the earth, but with animals, and how we honor the staff and how the staff engages and gets to grow with the land. Like, they're happy here, it's really interesting. Like, people love coming to work because it's not just their job, it's also this land is so rich and so, like, ready to gift to us. And it's been such a gift being here. And you and I talked about this, of like, how, even, like, we're going to talk a little bit more about the company that you and your family started, right? The soil.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about that, and then we'll talk a little bit
Sure.
more? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I have other things I can bring in too, but yeah. So again, I had that question, like, is it possible to have a product that can contribute to how people already live, like not
Hmm.
have to be some really strange off the wall thing that they can do, but something they already use in their everyday life, but that can also contribute to the earth just by them using it every day. So it just so happened, like, I had that question for a couple of years, and then my mother and stepfather one day gathered me and my brothers and sister and sat us down and was like, hey, for the last 2 years, we've been developing an alternative pesticide that doesn't have any poison in it. It uses, ingredients found in food and cosmetics, and super simple and clean. And would you like to create a company together? It's like, Whoa, okay. Like they didn't tell anything. They've been doing it for 2 years. They've been developing it and hadn't said a word to any of us. So it was a very big surprise and amazing. And so we said yes. It's me, one of my brothers, and my stepsister, and my mom and stepdad formed this company in 2017 called Plant Protector. And so we created a minimum risk pesticide category of pesticide that has, I don't know, maybe less than 1,000 pesticides in it, probably in the United States. The normal chemical pesticides that it's some poison of some kind, there's over 36,000 of them in the United States.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's just the United States. So pesticides are a huge commodity, product worldwide. They're used every day. They're used all over the earth. So it's a massive market and really kind of endless of where it touches on the earth. So we've been, running this company very successfully. It's been word of mouth. We haven't really done hardly any advertising of any kind, but people just love the product. They love having something that isn't toxic to them or their pets or their kids and doesn't have a gnarly toxic residue to use for protecting their plants from insects. It just works with soft body insects and fungus and mildew and mold, things like that. So it's very simple. It doesn't work on everything, but what it does work with, it works pretty darn amazing. So,
Wow. Like, you told me this years ago. I had forgotten, and I was like, I'm usually the one that once I hear about stuff like this, I want to tell the whole world about it.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah,
like we're doing today.
yeah.
And it was so funny. I was like, so Heather, like, what is this? And then she reminded me, and then she said, yeah, we've shipped to how many people so far around the world?
Well, we probably ship to maybe 70 countries to individuals. So the word of
70
mouth.
countries, 70 countries. And that's not even with advertising. That's just people like really seeking something different and
Yeah.
then wanting to, make a difference as well. And for me personally, I've always loved gardening, flowers, trees. I talk to trees and everything. By the way, I talk to everything, including animals. And
Yeah.
one of the things for me was, when we did have our gardener, he was willing to listen to what I had to say about a lot of things. But when it came to the pesticide, he's like, listen, Lale, I'm using the lowest dose possible, but we have to, just where you live, it's just a lot of insects. And all of the organic stuff out on the market doesn't really work. So, I wish I had remembered that I know a friend, there is a product,
Somebody
somebody I know and trust,
Yeah.
and what else is possible. And so can we talk also, because this was one of our conversations yesterday about like even weed, because I learned so much years ago from a farm in Australia, Tim and Tanya Graham, talking a little bit more
Awesome.
about weed. Yeah, so can you
Yeah.
can you please talk a little bit more about that too?
Yeah. So there's actually a worldwide movement of farmers who are very dedicated to working with the land and working with how nature works. As one of the like certifying bodies is called Demeter, and
Mhm.
there's I'm trying to remember the names right now. There's a lot of different styles of farming that don't use chemicals and don't use pesticides and herbicides and synthetic fertilizers for their farms and have amazing results. So, you can search the internet and look around. There's a lot of different types of farming beyond organic. The organic is sadly kind of been bastardized, and there's a lot of chemicals that are still used in organic. It's just that they've made rules that you can call it organic if you stop the pesticide use or chemical use, a couple weeks or a month before it harvests. So there's permaculture, there's biodynamic, that's the word I'm looking for, biodynamic farming. And that is really about using a whole different method for farming that, again, works with the earth. I don't want to try and get into all of it. I'm not an expert in that by any means, but there are a lot that people are doing to work with nature, how it works, and not go against it and just, scrape the top of the land off and put it in straight rows and plant it how they want. There's so many different things that can be done different, that are being done different. So, um, what else can we say about that? It's basically
Well,
just there are other choices and there are other approaches. We don't have to, nuclear bomb with poisons everywhere to deal with insects and things like that. Um,
Heather,
there's
can we talk about, okay, so let's talk a little bit because, the topic of this show was the earth is with us.
yes,
And when we put away all the formulas in our head of the A plus B equals C's, okay, like really we come back to us and our bodies. Like we're born from the earth, Without the earth, there's no body, you're not here. I mean, that's just
yeah,
as easy as that, right?
yeah,
But the earth has a way of making sure there is balance, that there are things in harmony. It has a way of showing it, though, sometimes in a different way than we imagine. And
right,
for me, like just the weed alone, the first thing gardeners do, people who are gardening their own homes or whatever, the first thing is I see weed is the problem. I have to pull the weed out, and then that will solve whatever is going on. But if we actually touch into what the weed isn't the problem. It's that part of your land is missing something, some nutrient, some energy, something's missing in that part of the land where it's just not in harmony. And so something called the weed, and some of them are really beautiful, they kind of grow, they come up in the world
yeah,
and
yeah.
say, hey, by the way, something's missing here, and here I can provide it. So that's a very different mindset than what most of us think of as a weed. And therefore, we have to go spray it with some of these toxic things out there and get rid of it. So, can you talk maybe a little bit about that too?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned Tim and Tanya Bothams from Australia, and they're brilliant with that. That's one of the things that Tim educates about is that, just as you said, the earth already knows everything it requires to stay in balance and to be totally vibrant and healthy. So it brings in a weed to an area because it's missing the nutrients that that weed provides. So if you let that weed grow, or there's a process you can do to actually turn that weed into a micronutrient that you can then feed back to the land, and the weed will stop growing because the soil and the land now has that nutrient and those energies that the weed was providing. And by turning it into a little fertilizer thing, then you can not have the weed but have all the benefits that that weed was bringing. And there's a million different things that are in harmony like that with the earth, that is how it actually works. So I'll give a few more examples. So like another example is the desertification of the earth. A lot of that is because there's no longer roaming animals. And what the roaming animals have done across the earth is they walk and they pee and they poo, so they fertilize and they break up the ground a little bit. Um, and they move seeds by eating the grass and pooping it out along the way. So if animals were allowed to roam as they naturally do, it actually would bring back the grasslands. And there's been people, scientists and conservation people who have been studying this and practicing this and proving that it works and actually bringing land back to verdantness by this practice. So if we took, cattle ranches and rotated the cows and let them move rather than keeping them in one spot until the ground is bare, all the grass would come back. Another cool thing with nature, another example of this is, I don't know if you knew this, Lale, but if you come across a poisonous plant, any kind of
Hmm.
poisonous plant that is either, irritating to the skin or truly deadly, pretty much within 3 to 4 feet from that plant is another plant that is the antidote. Right? Yeah.
That's so cool.
Right? And this is all over the world. This is all different kinds of, plants that are irritating or stinging or whatever they do. There is a plant nearby that is the antidote or will soothe it or calm it down. And that's just how the earth is. That's how nature works.
Wait,
So,
can I bring up something here? Because
yes,
so often we talk about nature, and it seems like this thing's so outside of us, which is not. Um,
yes.
but when I was in college, I wanted to become a pediatrician. So I took a lot of different kinds of psychology and, a lot of health biology classes. And one of the ones that I had to learn was all these studies they did in the 1970s with orphan kids. So they would have a lot of orphan kids that were malnourished, and they did studies with them. They didn't tell them anything. They were hospitalized, and every day they would bring a tray of food to the kids. They would bring
Yeah.
one in each meal group, like your grains and your meats and your vegetables and your dairies and stuff like that. And you would think they would always gravitate towards the dessert. They didn't. They didn't. Those
Mm,
kids always ate different things based on what their bodies required. And what was
yes.
really interesting for me is that how much innately we know, how much innately our bodies know, even as little kids. Because so often, I remember even my mom always telling me, you have to eat breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Breakfast,
Mm,
breakfast. I hated breakfast. Breakfast was the one thing I hated. Even when I was pregnant with my twins, I had yogurt and fruit. And that's the only thing I added, and my whole pregnancy was fantastic, and so, like, it really is how much we know, just like the earth knows, the lands know, but they need our help sometimes. Like you said, in the situation of that deforestation, there's things we can also do to bring the reforestation.
absolutely. Well, and really to start to listen to all of that, like listen to those urges that our body are giving us to not only just go outside and be outside, but what can we engage with? Like, so for example, I have beautiful property that I live on, and the trees when I moved here were kind of sparse and like not very vivacious. And
Mhm.
I've been here almost 7 years now, and I'm always loving on all the trees,
Yeah.
admiring them, touching them,
Hug the tree.
yeah, taking pictures of them, things like that.
Yeah.
And I swear all of the trees on my property are so much more lush and verdant and vivacious and more needles and more leaves and more berries every year. And
Yeah.
so it's like our engaging, as our bodies are part of the earth, when we engage with the earth, there's an incredible synergy that occurs and vitality that can be sparked and fed, if we'll engage that way. And in any way, I mean, it could be bird watching. It could be anything that just puts some attention and gratitude on the earth. And the earth speaks to us. It's like anybody who's had a garden or even house plants, they tune into it and when it needs water, not just because it's wilted. It's like if it needs to be repotted and it needs a bigger pot for more room for its roots. Like, how do you know that? You just know. We have an energetic awareness of life and living in the earth, that if we'll listen to it, it'll tell us all sorts of things and give us all sorts of clues and indications of what would support it and nurture it. And it in return nurtures us.
On that note, it was really funny because for me, I love my plants. And they've been studies that when you yell at your plants, they die. But when
Mhm.
you engage their consciousness and actually play, or like you were saying, when you actually have gratitude for it, how much it just glows. And it's
Yeah.
here on this property. The person who's been here even before the construction started, we knew we had to get started on planting more trees because we were not going to cut any trees, but we knew flowers and other things the property was going to need. And it's interesting, we have a whole section that's dedicated for forests for futures. So
Yeah.
they're planting trees continuously. And Juan is that guy who goes and hugs the trees, like literally, like his whole life. He's been doing this, I don't know, maybe 40 years here in
Yeah.
Costa Rica. And how we met him is because he would literally have so much love and gratitude for the plants in another property when we knew him 8 years ago. And
Yeah.
when I would travel, I had some plants at home, and it was so funny. I always knew to go into my living room where they were when they needed water. Like they would literally like it was like they had a hook, like a fishing hook, that would pull me in the moment that it was like, water me, please. And
Yeah.
then when I would travel, I would literally go say goodbye to them. I'd be like, I love you guys. I'll see you soon, or I'll see you in a week or whatever, 2 weeks. And do
Totally.
you know, like many moments they knew what to do to take care of themselves where they didn't even
Yes.
need watering until I returned. Like sometimes we had
Right?
people come water, the plants and stuff, but like it became this play between me and my plants. And
Yeah.
people think I'm crazy doing it, but then it was so funny to see how much they were growing while
Yeah.
people were like, I thought you killed your plants. You've been away so long. And I'm like,
Totally.
no, just talk to them remotely.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many ways we could play with this, so many possibilities. I don't know how much more time we have. I have another story I could share if you'd like.
Go ahead, share a story.
Well, so the last couple of years, we've had a lot of fires around here. I'm in Northern California, and we've had massive, massive fires. And two of the biggest ones in the Bay Area here, one went a quarter mile north of my house. The other one went a quarter mile south of my house a couple years later. And one of the things that I did is really engage with my house and the land and everything and ask it if it could take care of itself. Are you going to be okay? Can you take care of yourself? Can you not burn? You know, and if you like, do you need to? Is it like, because also I didn't have a resistance to it. Like, do I want to lose my house? No. And I trust that the earth has my back. I trust the earth is with me and that the earth will take care of me. And so I
Yeah.
asked it to, I asked it to take care of my house. I asked it, can it take care of itself and not burn? And it was an allowance of, if burning is actually greater possibility for this land, I'm willing for it to do that.
Yeah.
So it
Mm.
wasn't fighting it and seeing it as the disaster, but at the possibility, because like fire is a renewing energy for the land. It creates tons of fertilizer for the soil, so, and all sorts of other things. But I asked, and it didn't burn. All the whole area around my house, the fire didn't come here, and I know that part of it was because of my request, because it very
Yeah.
easily could have changed directions with the wind and gone right here.
You,
So,
it's funny when you bring that up, it reminds me of when Hurricane Sandy was coming to the US. And it was the first time it had come so much inland where I was in Maryland. I was near the Potomac River. And
mhm.
it was funny because the night before it hit, my kids were teenagers at the time. I took them outside and I was like, let's go hug the trees. And they were like, what? They're like, okay. They were like, yeah, whatever mom says might
Yeah.
be a little out there, but they have fun with it.
Yeah.
And do you know, we had just moved into this house 3 weeks earlier or something like that. And we went to every tree. I had some huge mother trees that were on the property. And we went to every tree. and we hugged it, all three of us.
Yeah.
Um, and we talked to its roots and we said, hey, anything we can contribute, you let us know. But would you be willing to keep your roots underground while the hurricane comes? And, and literally, we were the only house in the neighborhood. We had other stuff my house wanted redone. That was a different story I'm going to talk about later.
Yeah.
But but we only had one little thin tree that was in the far back that fell over, but it was like this little teeny thing that like just flipped back and then we put it back in. Like it was fine.
Yeah.
But our house had a long driveway, so we're the only one, like the far out house.
Yeah.
Both my neighbors on my right and my left,
Yeah.
their neighbor trees fell into their master bedrooms and destroyed their bedrooms, you
Wow.
know? And
Yeah.
there were so many trees in that neighborhood that just like they were 100 years old and came down. And it was really interesting because each of us thinks we're this little teeny grain of salt in this big world we call the earth. But
Yeah.
we don't realize that we're bigger than we realize, and our asks, our requests, our willingness to look at something from a different place, how much it has the ability to actualize. And
Absolutely.
it was so funny because my kids were like, wow, mom, I can't tell you how many of my friends had damage in their home. And for a minute, they would go along with it, but they didn't always think like it's going to turn out the way we think it's going to turn out.
That's
And
gonna be awesome.
they were very surprised. Yeah, I love
Right?
it.
Totally.
But I do look at it as like we said earlier, like the earth is here with us every moment if we're willing to not separate. And what if we are willing to ask, hey, Earth, what do you require? What can I contribute? Instead of, I know the Earth needs this. Like everyone's so
Yeah.
quick to go save the planet. The planet doesn't need saving. If the planet
No.
wanted to, in one earthquake, one tsunami, we'd all be out of here. That's
Yeah.
not the thing. Those things are happening because of the fact that we're not doing the things we should be doing. We're bringing, instead of laughing, we're causing more judgments, more hate, more anger, which actually is another thing that goes into the earth. But the earth is not anger. It will balance itself and get rid of those things. So we also have to know, what are we
Yeah.
really asking for? Where are we putting our creative energy? And if it was about a thriving planet, what
Yeah.
would you have to choose to thrive in your life? Not just it magically is going to happen with the earth. So we each have a role that we play here, not just, it's all the earth doing it.
Well, and that goes to the question of like, yeah, how are you living your life? Like, how would you like to be living? Are you demanding that everything fit exactly how you want it to be? Like, you're in California, so it must be sunny.
Mhm.
Or are you asking Earth, would you like it sunny? Earth, what works for you? What's possible here? And it's a very different way to live. And kind of as the title says, it's like either living on the earth or with the earth. And it's a choice that we can make. It's not a given. It is something that we can choose, and we do choose one way or the other. We are all choosing it one way or the other every day. And what would it take for more people to really have the joy and enthusiasm of being with the earth and being generative with the earth and listening to it? Because it's amazing how well the earth takes care of us. Like you said, it could flick us off in a heartbeat, but it doesn't. And
Nope.
it's so generative. It is always trying to be vibrant and generative and nurturing and able to support living.
Yeah.
That's
And one thing that's interesting, because you were mentioning this, like there's also a lot of things that you can do. What are things that bring you joy? Because it's funny, everyone always asks, like, what's this complex thing that I have to do so that the earth is healthier? And I'm like, start laughing more,
Yeah,
start enjoying
totally.
yourself, stop
Have a
killing
sense
your
of
body
humor.
out of hate, like there's these little things out there. But also, like what are those things? Like gardening's not for everyone,
Right.
what else could you add that brings that generative, like you're enthusiastic, like you get excited about what is that? Because when we do, we're actually raising the vibration in the earth, in the land where
Yeah.
we are. That is healing for the earth. And I do want to bring up that there's two groups. One's called
Yes.
the Earth Wizard, and
Love that
we
group.
got started 2 years ago. It's such a beautiful group. There's over 50,000 people in there, and do whatever you want to. Post a picture of something that just brings you joy, do it. And then we have different events that are going on each month in the group, and this month today we kicked it off with Susie Godsey, who is, we can call her
Amazing.
whatever. She's amazing with the earth. She's amazing. Animals, people like, she's like, yeah, whatever. But no, I enjoy her.
But still amazing with them.
She's so amazing with all of us. No, she's such a gift. And she started actually doing a um, reforestation. It's called the deforestation process. But it really is about us recommuning with the earth.
Yeah.
And so in the Earth Wizard, every day at around 10:15 a.m. Houston time, which is 5:15 p.m. in Central Europe. She's going to do this. And we did it today. And it was so beautiful. Like
Mhm.
how much, like we keep thinking we're separate. We're not. And just like, she was like, just put your hands as, you're putting it on the earth. And my hands went like this. And immediately I had all this vibration under my hand. And I was like,
Yeah.
and my body melted. I was just relaxed. And it is because that's when we're communing with the innate us and the earth, and
Yeah.
like how much is the earth also gifting and saying, please receive me. So if anybody wants to join, I'm asking, what would it take for 1 million of us to be in that group actually doing this every day? Like truly, what future could it create with the planet? um and then I also started a group called Earth with an upside down exclamation point. That's also on Facebook. If you guys want to just plop pictures or different things that you enjoy, it's just something I started a while ago for Earth project that I have coming up that got delayed, but I have a feeling 2024, maybe
Feels like the
2025, who
year.
knows? Yeah,
Yeah.
it will come out. But yeah, so I'm just wondering, like, we each can take a step, and it doesn't have to be how anyone tells you what that step is, but what would bring you joy? I think that's the one thing I would say is what brings you joy, and add more of that to your life, and that will heal the earth.
I would add also one of my really favorite exercises that I love, regardless of how you feel, if you're in pain or you're feeling grumpy or blah, if you take away the story and just look at the energy of it and take that energy and contribute it to the earth,
Let's
any
do it.
energy.
Heather, let's do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So everybody find a spot in your body that hurts a little bit or is achy or
Or
you're
your
kind of
business or
grumpy
your bank
or
account.
yeah, anything that's blah. Take that energy of it, what that feels like in your body, in your life. Take that energy and just like you can throw it at the ground, throw it at the earth, contribute it to the earth. Take all that energy and give it to the earth. Because the earth doesn't have a point of view about any energy. Energy is just energy with the earth, and it goes, yum. Thank you. Because we've had so long of a point of view of taking from the earth. So, this one exercise of giving energy to the earth, no matter what the story is with the energy, it feeds the earth and it contributes to it. So, that's one thing you can do every day. Feeling
Yeah.
good, feeling bad, laughing, crying, whatever, give it to the earth.
Well, you want to laugh? I fly a lot, and I do this when there's turbulence.
Ah,
So,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so it doesn't matter like how much the plane is shaking and everyone's freaking out. I relax, and then I say all of that energy, here you go, earth. And I just literally Just go
yeah.
like this and
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're gonna have turbulence for the next hour, and it's like 5 minutes later and it's finished. Like it really is as easy as, oh,
Yeah.
there's some nervous energy. Let's just give it to the earth and forget the turbulence.
I love it. Well, that's the thing when we engage with the energy like this, we do forget the trauma and drama. And suddenly we're relaxed, we feel happier. It's like, oh, everything's okay. Everything's going to be okay. And we get that
Yeah.
by engaging with the earth in any way.
Yeah. Well, Heather, it's been such a pleasure. I know I could talk to you for days, actually, because I
Yes.
just love talking about the earth. Um,
Me too. Me too.
um,
Yeah.
where can people find out more about you, your amazing books, and then you've got your family? Like, we'll put stuff in the show notes so that people have
Yeah.
links as well. But is there anything you'd like to share about like where people can find you before we say goodbye?
Yeah, so you can find the product. Lost Coast Plant Therapy is the name of it, and that's the website, lostcoastplanttherapy.com. That's where you can find all the information about the product, the company, and also purchase it online there. We do ship worldwide, and if the country isn't in the shipping, then just send us an email and we can get it to you. We can add that country. Let's see. You can also find me at heather-p-smith.mykajabi.com. I know it's a long one, but that's where you can find all the access energy work that I do, access consciousness. I'm an access consciousness certified facilitator, do all sorts of energy stuff. So you can find me there. You can also find me at accessconsciousness.com. So those are probably the best places to find me. And
Cool.
oh my gosh, Lale, thank you so much for having me on. It's been such a delight.
Thank you. And thank you for all you've been doing your whole life. Like literally, you were born into this. Like, as some of us learned later in life, yeah, let's do this for the earth.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, been there, done that.
Well, I always like to have more people to play with. So does the earth. So.
And what a great way for 2023, guys. Like, what can we choose today? Because it doesn't matter what yesterday was. Every day is a brand new day. So it's not about holding back of like, oh, I did this, I did that. No, what are you going to do today? What are you going to choose today that will actually create a greater future tomorrow? So thank you everyone for being here. And please comment, like, do all the things you got to do, because then it allows this to actually spread and go to more places. So thank you so much, Heather. And thank you everyone who's watching today and everyone in the future. And if you have any ideas for Heather or any other ideas for the podcast, please just message us and let us know. You can go to globalwellnessforall.com and contact us there. So thank you, darling. Adore you. And we'll see you
soon. Too. Bye, everybody. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, whether you were listening or watching live or on a replay. We are so grateful for you. We want to hear from you. What would you like to hear about? What are topics that get you excited and you would like to know more about? You can message us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, or even sending us a message at globalwellnessforall.com/contact. And also, would you be willing to assist us? Would you be willing to contribute spreading these seeds of wellness and well-being to others? And as always, we are so happy you're here, and what is truly possible with our amazing planet the minute we're willing to have more wellness and well-being. See you next time.